Hello class, my name is Miller Sampson, and this is my discussion post for Aviation 443 Multi-Engine Instructor on teaching minimum controllable airspeed, or VMC. So what is VMC? VMC, or the minimum controllable airspeed, is the airspeed that at sudden loss of the critical engine, the aircraft can still be controllable, meaning that once you lose your critical engine, working off of one engine, you are still able to maintain that zero side slip and not have the aircraft's left turning tendencies from one engine overpower the aircraft entering a spin. It's not a set airspeed, but it's most commonly associated with the red radial, which has which is determined by test pilots when the aircraft rolls off the factory floor with a set of certain conditions. And if these certain conditions are met, then that red radial is going to meet the VMC requirements. But there is a lot of things that could change that, so there's a lot of different situations where you can get VMC. So understanding and knowing the signs of VMC rather than just the conditions in which it could happen are more important. And it's a critical concept to understand so that you can maintain control of the aircraft in the chance of one engine inoperative and to avoid a spin. Some aerodynamic and environmental factors that affect VMC. Weight, if you have less weight, so if the aircraft's closer to its, not as close to its max gross takeoff, less weight makes it easier to displace, so the power of the engine can overturn the aircraft a lot easier. Airspeed, when you have lower airspeed over the control surfaces, it's going to be less effective to maintain that zero side slip and maintain controllability of the aircraft. Altitude, as the aircraft rises, the air is less dense, and depending on the kind of engine you have, if you don't have turbos on it, the higher you go, well, even if you do have turbos, there's going to reach a certain point where your engine's going to be not as effective. But the higher you go in altitude, the less thrust the engine can produce, making it not as easy to overthrow the aircraft. And then in configuration, we have this thing called the keeling effect. With the gear down, it kind of acts as an anchor for the aircraft, making it a lot more stable throughout the air, making it easier or not as easy to be displaced or overturned in the case of a rolling effect. Some signs of VMC. So you can see these a lot when you do your VMC demo with students, or I guess if as of right now as students ourselves. But less controllability from the control surface. It feels a little bit mushy. You have to put more input in order to get the desired response. The inability to maintain zero side slip. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm just slamming on that rudder to maintain that heading that I want, it gets a lot harder when you don't have as much rudder authority. Yawing towards the dead engine. So as that airspeed slows down, that power of the engine starts to overpower your ability to maintain zero side slip, and it'll start yawing towards the engine that isn't producing any thrust. And obviously, of course, the symptoms of a stall. So you could have one engine stall, especially on the one that doesn't have any thrust producing, or just the inability to maintain control. Some instructional technique, kind of what I talked about earlier. I will start with the ground knowledge of what VMC is. So why, kind of go over the early parts of this PowerPoint, but what it is, what affects it, and how it occurs. So understanding the base knowledge of what it is will help you be able to visualize it better when you're in the air. But obviously, I don't know if you guys are like me, but I learn a lot better doing than just reading a book. So demonstrating VMC demo, go over it many times, making sure that they can understand some of the symptoms. So the most common one that I see when I'm doing a VMC demo is that yawing motion to the left engine, because we have our critical engine yawing over to that direction. So being able to see what it looks like versus just not putting in enough rudder effort and realizing that it's like, okay, you can have the rudder all the way down to the ground, but you're still turning in a direction that you don't want to. So recognizing that and being able to recover promptly. So yeah, thank you. These are my sources. I use the Airplane Flying Handbook and the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. Thanks, guys.